January 27th, 2023, the 2000 tick chart on the Emini on the Thinkorswim platform, paper trader. Now, I just want to point out that in the description below on my videos, you don't have to watch the entire thing because sometimes I ramble. If you're just interested in where the trades I took and the setup, just go and look down in the description and look at the timestamp. It should just take you to the part of the video that might be interesting. So today was kind of an interesting day. It was kind of a large trading range with a very bullish bias. Certainly it was kind of in a trading range at the beginning. It broke out, rallied, pulled back almost a complete move, then rallied again. There was a little bit of consolidation right here for about an hour, but overall this is kind of an interesting day. I wouldn't say it was super difficult, but there was a lot of little fake outs here and there. So this is how my chart looked. I ended up drawing this big trading range here, and then these are like the upward channels that I saw. I took 11 trades today. I did not get emotional, and I'm glad I also didn't trade on tilt. Usually when I trade on tilt, then I just start blasting the mouse trying to get my money back, but I didn't, so that's a good thing. I had 6 winning trades, 3 losing trades, and then a 7th winning trade, but it wasn't based off of standard price action rules. It was kind of this, I guess, a hunch trade that I saw that I've seen before, and I decided to take the risk, and it ended up working out. So let's go back, let's go in, let's take a really close look. This is the pre-market. Pre-market already drew this trading range because it looked like it was just kind of respecting this before the market opened. And so as the market opened, this big trading channel doesn't exist yet. So I'll just go ahead and say, I'm just going to pretend he's not here for now. The market opens. I draw this trading channel going up. I notice there's probably a second entry short here, but it's too early in the day for me to try to take anything. It moves along and it breaks out of this trading channel, comes out, tries to make one high, pulls back, makes a second high. It does get back. So I think the uptrend might have played out, but it's also within this trading range right now. So it doesn't really give me any good entries for anything. Comes back up, it tests the top of this trading range. So again, there's no entries. These candles are pretty big. It's very congested. It's like swinging high up, swinging high back down. Just tells me to sit on my hands. And it breaks out. And now I'm watching, is it going to break out through here? At this point, I do draw this trading channel because I can get like 3, 4, 5 touches, about 3 good touches up here. So right now, at this point in time, this line exists, this one exists, but it's played out, and this one. So I'm watching carefully. It breaks out. I have an overshoot. It's coming back down, but it keeps going. So at this point, I think this one might have been played out because I don't know if it's going to come back in. So I draw this trading channel now. I have 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, and I only have maybe 1 touch up here, but it's at least good enough for guidance to see if there's any potential reaction to this line. It kind of touches a 4th time here. So actually I can drag this a little closer. That probably got moved a little bit, but something like that. And it comes back as it keeps going, right? Now it's respecting both sides. So I'm pretty confident this is a trading channel that price action likes. Again, I'm sitting on my hands, and now it looks like it's entering a trading range. So I draw this line at this point because I draw this line for this resistance. And this one I just probably had it higher, but then I dragged it down when this candle formed. The move sideways, it looks like it's for sure in a trading range now because it broke out, tried to make one new high. I'm wondering if it's going to make a new high to complete this trend up, or if it's going to respect this trading range and just kind of stay in here and bounce around. So I'm just waiting. It breaks down below, breaks below the EMA, and then it tries to come back in 1 time, right? So I'm watching. I don't see a good setup, a safe setup. It breaks back down below the EMA and then crashes down. So now I drew this. So this one has played out. This one, trading range, might come back into play or not. You'll find out later it doesn't. So I did chop it off, make it shorter. I drew this descending trend line. And I do see a second entry long here. So when this is setting up, I saw a first entry long, closed above EMA, I like that, came down. This is second entry long, but I'm not sure if the EMA is going to hit this or if it's going to make a new high to kind of fulfill this guy. But it's moved so far away now that I'm not 100% sure what it's going to do. When this bar formed, I thought, okay, this is actually a pretty decent trade to take if I took one tick above, or if I at least try to be safe and set it all the way back here, just so I give myself a little room. But I decided not to take any trade, and it turns out that it would have worked. But if I had my conservative set up here, I would never have gotten filled. I would have missed the trade. So you would have to have taken it up here. This is a pretty strong bullish bar because it closed at the high, but it's also entering this trading range again. I wasn't sure when this is extended all the way out here if this is going to contact and bounce back down. So at this point, that big trading range that I had, I started to think, okay, maybe there's something here. So I just kind of had this preliminarily right here, just to see if this is a big guideline that I could use in my trading. Goes up, chops around. It hits the top of this trading range now. So I'm pretty happy because it has 1, 2, 3 touches. So the bottom side, I know it's pretty decent. And then the top side has roughly 1 and 2. So it looks like it's going to overshoot. I have this is written later. So I watch as it price actually moves above and out. So I said, okay, there's something, it might pull back into the trading range. I need to be ready, just kind of keep an eye on this. This pulls back into the trading range, but then it fights and goes up again. So now it finally makes it back to the EMA. I'm not sure what's doing. I do see first entry long coming back here. I'm anticipating potentially a second entry long. So it does not break above. So you still only have a first entry long. So again, I'm waiting here because right now it looks like it's respecting the EMA. So I have my order ready. And right now there's this trading range I didn't have drawn at the time. So I didn't have the benefit of that hindsight. It breaks down below. I said, okay, well, it looks like it was going to be a first entry long. And then it broke down below. And unfortunately, this is my first losing trade, as you're going to see, because next one, it kind of comes back up. And it looks like it wants to break through. So I took a trade here at 40.8925, which is right here, which is one tick above this guy, 49.8925. Because I thought, okay, it's respecting because it closed above the EMA, it might blast up through. Later, I drew this trading range, and I realized actually I was in a trading range. This is a risky trade to take. On top of that, it was an overshoot, so I had to break. And most likely it's going to come back down and test this bottom line. I didn't think about that in real time, and as a result, I get burned. I get stopped out right here. However, when I got burned, I thought, oh, actually there's a trading range here. It looks like it's breaking down below. It looks like it could be a failed second entry long. So I went ahead and put one trade, one tick below here. Kind of reversed the trade immediately because I thought, okay, I think I have a read on the situation. So I took it at 40.86, which is right here, pretty much one tick below this guy and one same tick as this guy. This guy's actually a little bit higher, so it's right there. And I figured if it touched here, there's probably some stops in place that might pick me up and swing me through. So it does end up swinging me through. EMA is respected on this side. I draw this trend line now to see if there's any guidance. I get both my profit target and my runner because I actually had my runner pretty aggressive. I just want to make sure I get my profits back or get my losses back. Came down, touched this. So I'm going to make these trades disappear for now. And so it bounces within this trading channel. It broke for the overshoot. It came back down. Now I'm wondering if it's going to pull back into this trading channel. It looks like it's just bouncing left and right. It's still respecting the EMA. It's following this trend channel. So I have to keep that in mind. I don't know if it's coming back. And now it breaks above the EMA, and it looks like it's trying to enter this guy again. So I'm just watching and waiting pretty patiently. It touches the top of this trading range now because after these 3 candles formed, I drew this line. And this bottom guy, I wasn't really sure where he was. I kind of probably had it up here at the time, but I ended up just kind of dropping it down here eventually. But that doesn't matter yet because it's not coming down yet. But I do notice that it's above the EMA. Right here, I figured this is a decent second entry short, but I didn't take it. So it's like a first entry short here, just barely, second entry short, it closed below. If I wanted to take this, I would have taken it one tick below. And at the time, I suspect, I don't quite remember now, I think my bottom of my trading range was here. And I thought, okay, it's kind of past the halfway point. I'm not 100% sure if that's worth a trade yet. It might be a little aggressive. Ends up it would have worked. I should have trusted the setup and the hunch because it would have gotten my scalp and probably my runner. And then it touches the bottom. So at this point, I figured, okay, this is potentially a failed breakout because I said this was actually closer up to here. And I saw a breakout. I liked this candle. It closed, in my case, above the top of the trading range, or it entered the trading range again. This breakout might work. So I put one order right here. That's my third trade of the day. And I get filled. So I get filled right here at 407925, which is about right here. 407925, right about here. I was a little conservative, and immediately I get my profit target. I wanted to make sure I had enough room to get out before I hit the EMA, and I was able to. So I had one win, actually two wins now, and the first loss in the very first trade. So prices kept moving, and if there was any confirmation that I needed, there was a lower high setting up here, but this lower high isn't really indicating a reversal yet. So although it's a lower high, you can't really give it as much validity because it's also getting close to the EMA, and EMA is flattening out. So it's just something I pointed out to myself. I saw a second entry long here as well, but there's no safe trade, in my opinion, to take yet. So it does move up. If you took that trade, it might have worked depending on what your profit target was. I see a first entry short, potential second entry short here. It closed below the EMA. If there was a trade to be had, you would have had it probably one tick below. But I felt it was a little bit aggressive because you're in the middle of this trading range. It's just chopping left and right. It turns out it would have worked for a scalp, but immediately reversed. So if you were late on your entry, or entry was a little sloppy, you might not have gotten out in time. And then it breaks down below. Now I'm wondering if it's going to touch this. So I do see, you're going to see like a first entry long. So I'm getting ready thinking, okay, there might be a second entry long if it really respects the bottom of this trading range. Turns out it does. It breaks up and then it hits here. So it closed below. I take back what I said. I thought I'm thinking of a different setup, but it didn't hold the bottom of this trading range. And I thought, okay, now is a failed second entry long. So right now I need to take a step back. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, oh, okay, I'm marking all these potential second entry shorts, second entry long, failed second entry longs. All this stuff's happening within this chop. What it's telling me then at this point is I'm looking too closely, trying to see things right when they happen without taking the whole market into context. And that's risky because these trades might have worked, but to jump in quickly, in and out, in and out, in and out, that is a recipe for disaster. Because look, I've marked all these things. This is just chop now. I just need to step back, take a little hold on myself, and decide like, okay, I need to calm down and not try to look for every single thing that's happening and taking a trade. So here I just kind of took a step back, said, okay, well, I marked all these things. They're probably not all high probability. I need to wait. So now prices break below. It broke past this trading range now, and it keeps going down. So at this point, I have, this is what I see. And I see, okay, it looks like it's kind of going up. This previous trading range isn't valid anymore. So I just drew a line up here. And this bottom line was actually down here at the time because I didn't bring it up till later. And you'll see at the point when I do bring it up. Prices keep moving down. I draw a new trading channel, trend channel, goes down, it's respecting it, and now it's touching the bottom of this, which I thought, okay, that's interesting. This doesn't exist yet, so I didn't really see that until it curls back up. When it curled back up, that's when I connected from the bottom here, and I dragged this guy from down here all the way up to there. So it used to be down here, and I dragged it up to here. I go, okay, there might be another channel in play because I kind of see that this one has played out. And so that's where I drew this guy up kind of as another guideline. I see a trading range here. I see a first entry short followed by a second entry short. I took this trade. So this is a second entry short, and this is my fourth trade. And actually, it burned me. I took this aggressive because I said, oh, because I didn't think this is a trading range at this point. I just saw it's touching 4 or 5 times, four times up here. It tried to break through. It's not happening. Not only that, this one, the setup for the second entry short, closed below the EMA. It's a pretty bearish bar. Not only came down, it looks like it wants to come down at least a touch here. So I took this entry at 67.25, which is right here. I took it previously below this candle by 1 tick. I put my trade here, and when it opened, it kind of opened, spiked up, it picked me up, and when it closed, I thought, okay, this is pretty good. I like it that it closed below the EMA. And the next candle over, I get stopped out. Boom, it immediately goes up, takes all the stops up here for all the people that were short, including myself. And now I've got a fourth trade, and that fourth trade was a red. So I had 2 winning trades, 2 losing trades. So I was like, oh man, that was tricky. I thought it was a good setup because it looked like the trend, overall trend is going down. It didn't respect the EMA, especially on this candle. This one was telling me, okay, everything looks like it's all set because this is where I entered on. I felt pretty confident. My stop was 1 here, came back, took me out. So I was like, oh, okay, that's tricky. It keeps moving, oscillates. It's bouncing between this trading range. So I'm not taking any trades. I got a little burned that one, so I just wait. Now it's breaking up. At this point, this guy doesn't exist yet, so I'm just going to make him dotted. And this one hasn't started coming into play yet because I haven't drawn him yet. But as I see this forming, then I thought, okay, there might be a trading channel here. So I drew this as a preliminary hold just to see where and guide my trading. Goes up. Now this is a second entry short. This is NF because it was a no fill. What I saw was a first entry short goes all the way up, second entry short. When I saw this candle form, I thought, hey, it might be enough room to come back to the EMA, and it might be trending back down because I did have a trend line kind of like this at one point, but I deleted it later because I just didn't like the way it fit. But at the time, I thought it might come back down, come back and test, and come back into the range. So I tried to get a fill, but I tried to be conservative. Instead of putting 1 tick here, I actually had 1 tick above the close of this guy, which is right at the open of here. So I had my trade, but it didn't fill me, just kind of went without me. And that trade would have worked for a scalp. Fortunately, I wasn't on it. But if I was hesitated, it would have stopped me out because my stop was up here. So in a weird way, I was kind of like, once it went past and it got what I would have taken as a scalp, I canceled the order, and I was lucky because the very next tick, if I kept my order there, it would have filled me as a short and immediately taken me out as a cover. So now it's trading in this trading range, and it breaks out. So it's coming back up to this guy that I've drawn, and it's respected it pretty much 3 times at the bottom, a few times at the top. So I'm confident this could be the trading channel. It breaks out, comes back down. I drew this intermediate one, which doesn't really matter, which ends up not really mattering that much because this guy was the dominant guy. It's going, it's trading, it's moving along. At this point, I'm thinking, okay, there's a couple touches here. There's a few touches down here. That's when I introduced this guy, this bigger trading range. But I had to keep in mind that this smaller one here is probably still in play. So I just had to, there's kind of like 2 overlapping trading channels. And I just had to be aware because this one might set up later for me as indicating that there's a bigger price action going on. But I like that it's touching several times now. So I do like this one is in play and this one's in play. This one looks like it's pretty much burning out, breaks out below. It's respecting EMA, and then I draw this trading range. So it's bouncing in between right now. I see a first entry long followed by a potential second entry long. So it made a second entry long here. I'm not that crazy about this entry as a second entry long, so I don't want to take any trade. So I waited, and then there's a second entry long for sure confirmed here. So I entered a trade right there at 40.85.25, which is right here, 40.85.25, which is 1 tick above here, because I like that the overall trend is showing that it's bullish. it's respecting the EMA, although it broke down, there's a second entry here. EMA is flattening, and I do have this trading range here. So when it broke out, and it's kind of looks like it might come back in, I had my order here waiting. It got me, and it picked me up on the way up and also took me out. So this one is a little aggressive. In hindsight, I don't know if that is the safest trade to take. The fact that I'm thinking and questioning it tells me that it probably wasn't, but I took it anyways and it ended up working. So that was probably a lucky trade. I also was able to trail up a runner, but it pretty much got stopped right at break even. So trading range is in play. It breaks out of the trading range, it moves up, and as you can see, price action is kind of exceeding this guy now. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm seeing a potential second entry short. Whether you took it from here, the new low, first entry short, second entry short. I didn't take it yet because it only ticked one tick below, but I see a potential setting up. So right here, I decided, okay, I'm going to take a second entry short right there. It turns out that this trade, I was kind of lucky because when this formed, I'm constantly looking back and forth. And so this is kind of getting confirmed now. So I'm seeing a top of a trading range, and I'm thinking, okay, if it's top of the trading range, there's a chance it might come back down because it's running into this guy, running into this guy. That might be two key entry points enough for me to try to scalp all the way back down to here. So I take an entry right here at 90.50, which is right here, 90.50, which is the same level as this guy, right there at 90.50. Let's see, 90, 75, 78. So it's 90.50 is one tick below. It comes out, making me wait a little bit, and then it confirms with a lower high. So I'm feeling a little more confident now. However, I wouldn't have taken this lower high if I missed this trade. The reason I wouldn't have taken this lower high is because the EMA is moving up now. So here I had a nice amount of room to try to scalp out before it touched the EMA. Here you have less now, because if you took this lower high, you have to take it here. You're even closer to the EMA now. So if I missed this trade, I would not have taken this trade. But it turns out it worked. And if you had taken the lower high, it would have worked for you as well. So the trade, there's my profit target. I noticed that there's a second entry long here now, but it's below the EMA. It is going with trend, so it might be something worth considering, but I'm already in the trade. I'm dragging down my runner, and finally my runner gets stopped out when it moves back up because I kept my runner kind of loose. I wanted to see if I would get a really true runner that would come all the way back down to touch the bottom of here. So I didn't trail it down as tightly as I should have. And in that case, I did get stopped out early, but that's okay. Turned out to be a green trade. It was an aggressive trade, but it turned out to be a green trade. Price action keeps moving, comes up. Now I'm watching this again. I was like, is this going to be respected? It's going first entry. There's a potential second entry again for a repeat of this trade up here. So I'm thinking, okay, this could happen again. So I'm going to get ready. This candle forms. I said, okay, this is definitely a second entry short right here. I'm going to get my order ready. As soon as it breaks down below this, I'm going to enter because this is the top of the trading channel. And it looks like it broke out, and I think it's going to fail. Boom. I take it. It's right here at 92.75, which is right here at this candle. I have my order here. It opens. It doesn't fill me, but it spikes up, takes me in as a sell, immediately gives me my profit target as it comes back down. So I was pretty happy with that trade. That happened to be like trade number 7. And then it oscillates again. So now I see, okay, there's I'm watching this, I'm getting a little overconfident now because I'm seeing a first entry long hidden here, followed by a second entry long here. It formed right here. The second entry long, I'm getting a little confident because I'm thinking, okay, this EMA is holding. I'm going to take an entry at 40.92, which happened to be right here, one tick above this red one. Now, this is definitely riskier and it's aggressive because every time you have to interpret a hidden second entry, that means you're already looking at something a little more aggressive. On top of that, I'm getting close to the top of this trading channel, but I decided to take it, and I was lucky in this case because I was able to get it and profit and get my runner as well. So here I also draw a trading range because I think, okay, it might be chopping around now. I think I drew it actually when I saw this one. So that kind of kept me weary that, hey, it might be losing momentum. It's not coming back up to the top anymore. So I had to be a little careful on taking longs or shorts. I need to see more price action. I do see a second entry short here. If you took this as a new low, it'd be first entry short, second entry short. It broke out below. I thought it might have been aggressive to take it here because you'd be selling at the low instead of buying at the low. But and I also wasn't sure that because you're coming into two potential points of support, this trading range lower level and this EMA. So that's telling me, okay, if you take a short here, it could bounce back up. I'm not sure I want to take a long here because this line is here as well as this one. These ones were shorts because they're already touching the top. It's kind of been confirmed that this is a pretty firm trading channel top. So I was okay with taking these, but this one I'm not too sure of. So I left it alone. Ends up it would have worked. And then it enters a new trading range. And I'm just watching. Breaks out below. It's respecting the EMA. It comes back down. Now it touches this and it bounces back up. I like that. I like that indication because it's telling me that this lower channel of this trading channel is probably true. It's probably something I'm trading on and trading with, which is a good indication. Okay, that's something you use as a guide. So then I draw this intermediate trading channel going up, just because you could have multiple trading channels, small ones within big ones, and this is a small one. It looks like it's respecting it. It finally breaks out below. Now, when this is setting up, I noticed that they all distinctly stopped right here at this price target. When it came back up and it stopped again, my impression, now this is a hunch trade. This is a trade that isn't quite second entries, and this isn't quite failed second entries or whatnot, or higher lows. But what I saw here, and I wanted to take this trade as a hunch, as a try. I figured there's probably people who saw this as a new high. They saw this as a first entry long, comes down, makes a second entry long, and then it fails. So when people saw this as a second entry long and it failed, I suspected they had a safety stop one tick above here because they noticed, hey, this can't get above. So if this doesn't work, I want to cover my short one tick above at 40, 90, 24. So when this occurred and this stopped twice, I immediately got an order ready at 40, 90, 25, because I said, if this ticks above, there's probably going to be this crazy covering because people are also down here saying, okay, first entry short, second entry short failure. I'm going to go long. So most likely, I'm thinking there's going to be, when this comes up, there's going to be people that are going to jump onto this trade. And so I want to be a part of that. I put my order at 40, 90, 25. On top of that, this candle is very tiny. The risk I was going to take was going to be very tiny. So I thought this is worth a try. This is where I put my entry right here. It broke up and I said, okay, for sure this is going to go. I put it at 40, 90, 50, which is a one tick above the 40, 90, 25. It takes me in, and fortunately, it moves all the way up. I was able to get my profit target, and I trailed my runner, and I was able to get my runner as well. So that's just an interesting trade that I took. I call it a hunch trade. It's just something I've noticed over and over again. Now, this trade has to be a very specific setup. You can't just say, there's a bunch of touches and it's going to break through, or there's a bunch of touches on the bottom, like here, if these are all in line, it's going to break through. You can't say that. You have to have it in context. What I liked about it was touching several times. On top of that, it's a bullish bias going up. So that's why I had my trade. And on top of that, the risk I was taking was very tiny. This candle is only half a point. It's only 2 ticks. So this is a 2-tick candle. 2-tick candle, that is worth a try. Granted, I didn't have my stop down here. I probably had a little bit lower to give a little bit of room, and it ended up working. So I was pretty happy with that particular trade. Now, I don't want to say that you should always take these kinds of trades. It's just, as I said, it's very specific to this setup, very specific to the context of what's going on. So anyways, prices move back down. I draw this new trend line right here just to kind of see if this is going to be respected, or if that's what I can use as guidance. I also noticed that prices are getting crushed. They're getting squeezed up here. So that's just something to notice. And as prices kept going up, it breaks above this and I saw a second entry short. I decided not to take it, even though it had a decent closing bar. It would have worked. Here I saw a failed second entry short now because I'm following the process of the EMA going up. And I took that trade. That was my 10th trade, but it ended up being a losing trade. I thought it was a good entry, as you're going to see. I took the entry right here, one tick above 94.50, which is right here. I entered right there and I thought, okay, cool. It's going to move up. It's a failed second entry short. And then it comes down, rejects. Now I'm getting nervous because I said, oh man, if it's second entry short and this is lower high, this actually might be a second entry short. I'm hoping that the EMA is going to hold. And if not, it's going to come down and touch this thing. And that's exactly what it does. It takes me out. That's my 10th trade, and it was a losing trade. But then I again saw, okay, first entry long, there's potential second entry long. If it respects, it does. It comes up and it respects this big channel, which has been holding this whole time. This happened to me last and final trade. I entered at 40.9275, which is one tick above here, which is also coinciding with this top of the trading range. This is a little aggressive, but I figured, okay, I'm going with trend. I think this is going to be okay because look at the size of this candle. It's telling me it doesn't want to go back down. That doji candle made me a little nervous, but then it blasts up and I was able to scalp out. I moved the profit target a little bit higher because I'm taking a little bit bigger risk. So I was able to get about 3.5 points on the core. And then I trailed my runner up and I got probably about 3.25 points for the runner. And I pretty much took it off here. And then prices just kept moving. That was the last trade of the day for me. And then I just kind of sat back. I thought, okay, I certainly traded a lot today. I need to just calm down and just watch price action. Right now, it's respecting this trend line going up. And there wasn't any real good entries because it's too choppy. These ticks are very, very tiny, one above the other, but it's showing a very strong bullish uptrend. If I was able to hold, I would have been able to ride this out. At this point, I did see an overshoot, and I was getting interested. It's overshoot, and I wonder if it was going to touch the top of this guy. It ends up not. But it was an overshoot and it came back down. I knew, okay, if I was going to take any trade, I have to be very careful of taking second entry longs because it might swing right past and break past this guy, which is exactly what it did. I did see a second entry long and I thought it was aggressive, but at this point in time, it's pretty late in the day and I decided, okay, I'm going to close up shop, but I'm going to watch what happens. It is a first entry, second entry. It is far from the EMA though. So I wouldn't have taken that trade if I was thinking about it. It does create a lower high, but the lower high is very close to the EMA as well. So that made me somewhat nervous if I was going to take a trade, but it is respecting this big trend line. So here there's an interplay between, are you going to trust that the EMA is going to hold and push it back down because it did twice already, or is this going to be more powerful? It turns out the uptrend wins out because it would have worked. And then pretty much till the end of the day, prices kept going down and it plateaued. So that's how I saw the trades today. I definitely I don't need to say probably. I did overtrade a little bit today, but I'm glad I didn't get emotional. I didn't trade on tilt. Things were planned, and I did have my stop losses in place. So that wraps it up. This is a long video, so definitely if you want to know specific trades, just go look in the description, go straight to those timestamps. Don't bother watching this whole thing because I know I wouldn't. In the future, when I'm looking back, I'm just going to be scoping out, finding out where specific trades and setups were. So that's it.